I always understood that ambition demanded sacrifices, but I never imagined those sacrifices would include us. My wife, Emily, carried dreams larger than either of us, visions that stretched far beyond our cozy apartment, weekend getaways, and the quiet dinners I treasured. When she received the offer for a year-long fellowship in Europe, I supported her wholeheartedly. I told her go chase her dreams, convinced that love could endure the distance. I thought I was strong. I thought we were strong. The day she left was quiet. No dramatic farewells. Just a suitcase, a few tight hugs, and whispered promises trembling on our lips. "It's just a year," she said. "We'll be fine. We'll talk. We'll visit. I cut her off with a forced smile, pretending my chest wasn't tightening under the weight of fear. I waved her off, watched her disappear into the cab, and told myself I was proud, supportive, understanding. The first few months passed under what I call grace. We video called, texted, sent photos, small tokens keeping our connection alive. But gradually, subtly, the distance began to erode the intimacy I'd assumed unshakable. Calls grew shorter. Messages took longer to respond to. Emily's words, once warm and familiar, now felt distant, echoes from a life that wasn't mine. I tried to dismiss it, telling myself career pressures were demanding, that it wasn't personal. But deep down, I felt the first pangs of isolation. 6 months in, the pattern became unmistakable. The late-night texts weren't from me. They were from others. The excitement she once shared with me had shifted to her new colleagues, to people she barely knew, to experiences she chose to live without me. I wasn't angry. Yet, I was heartbroken. I tried to reach her, to reconnect, but every attempt felt like knocking on a door silently locked. Her career had become a shield, a wall, a reason keeping her from returning to the life we'd built. Then, a year later, she came back. Emily returned, suitcase in hand, smiling, apologetic, as if a year of absence could be undone with a warm smile, as if love could resume like a pause video. She expected warmth, understanding, forgiveness. She expected me to welcome her back as if nothing had happened. But I had changed. The man who had waited, who had hoped, who had endured was gone. In his place was clarity, a quiet resolve that refused to bend to charm or remorse. The moment Emily stepped through the door, the weight of 12 months settled between us. Her eyes searched mine, seeking forgiveness, reassurance, a return to what once was. But I had spent a year learning a painful truth. Absence changes people, and sometimes love alone isn't enough to bridge the gap. I didn't move to greet her. I didn't reach for her hand. I simply watched, letting the silence stretch, letting her realize that I had been living through a year of emptiness. While she pursued her ambitions, she tried to fill the space with explanations, late nights, pressure, networking dinners, meetings that ran until dawn. Each excuse sounded hollow, rehearsed, a mask for reality I already knew but had hoped wasn't true. I had endured her absence, yes, but I had also rebuilt myself, my routines, my sense of self, my world, without her constant presence. The life we'd shared was now a memory. Beautiful, perhaps, but irretrievable. Her attempts at reconciliation intensified over the week. She cooked, cleaned, slipped into familiar routines, as if the distance had been a brief detour rather than a year-long chasm. She planned dates, thoughtful gestures, even casual touches meant to evoke nostalgia. But with every attempt, my resolve strengthened. Love, I realized, is not just longing or desire. It's presence, attention, respect. She had neglected all of that for 12 months, leaving her promises empty and our bond beyond repair. The breaking point came one evening when she whispered, almost pleading, "I came back for us. Can't we start over?" Her voice trembled. For a fleeting moment, the man I had been, the one who loved unconditionally, wanted to reach out, to believe a return could heal what had been broken. But I didn't. I shook my head. Her choice had been made long before she returned. She had chosen her career over us, and no apology could undo that decision. I told her, gently but firmly, that our marriage, the life we had shared, was over, not in anger, not in spite, but in clarity. I had spent a year proving I was whole, resilient, capable. I learned that sometimes walking away isn't failure. It's self-preservation. It's acknowledging that love must be mutual, consistent, and present to survive. The day I spoke it aloud, the apartment felt emptier than it had during her absence. Emily's eyes welled with tears, a mix of regret, frustration, disbelief. She tried to argue, to remind me of our vows, to reclaim the love we once had. But I was calm. I had spent the past year rebuilding not just my life, but my understanding of love, that it demands presence, consistency, and mutual commitment. She promised she would prioritize us, that her career would never come between us again. But promises mean nothing without proof, and a year of absence had left a mark too deep to ignore. The emotional distance, the shattered routines, the lonely nights, they could not be undone by heartfelt words. I walked her to the door, steady and resolute. Outside, the city buzzed with life, oblivious to the personal devastation within those walls. Emily's voice called my name one last time, hesitant, almost desperate. I didn't respond. I didn't turn back. My decision had been made, not from anger, but from clarity. I was reclaiming my life, my autonomy, my self-respect. The man who had waited, hoped, forgiven was gone. In his place stood someone who understood that neglected love becomes unsustainable. That night, alone, I reflected on the year gone by. The lessons were harsh but invaluable. Love cannot survive on promises alone. Absence and neglect create gaps impossible to bridge with apologies. Personal growth sometimes demands letting go, even when the heart aches. Emily's return had been a test I hadn't asked for, but one I had to pass to prove my strength, my resilience, my capacity to honor myself. By morning, I had made peace. I would move forward, carrying the memories of love, but leaving behind the pain, disappointment, and neglect. Some doors, once closed, cannot be reopened without causing further damage. And sometimes the hardest choice, the choice to let go, is the one that ultimately grants freedom, clarity, and the chance to rebuild life on your own terms. Stepping into the new day, breathing deeply, I realized that losing Emily wasn't the end. It was a beginning. A life defined not by compromise at the cost of self-worth, but by honesty, presence, and the unwavering commitment to never let someone else's priorities overshadow my own. That year of absence had taught me more about love, loss, and strength than I could have imagined. And now, I was ready to live fully, unapologetically, and with clarity.